Well, it is actually a beautiful day here. I was going to bring you a video earlier in the morning. I was just getting going, and honestly, it was a holiday Monday. I had like 4 or 5 horses I wanted to jog. I ended up jogging beside 3 of them. But I just want to see their body language, how they were today. And, you know, I know that everybody in the barn, especially after the start of August, everybody's been on kind of red alert. And the horses raced pretty good last week. So I didn't want anybody taking their foot off the gas, so to speak. I wanted to make sure that we took everything very, very seriously and that we looked at everything. I wanted to see Judy's Money jog. I wanted to see JK Mega jog. I wanted to see Aunt Lily jog, right? These are things I want. I wanted to go with Emerald Tom because we switched his shoes. Although he's jogging, I want to try and get a gauge of his comfort level, right? That might sound silly to you, but it's very, very important to watch how the horses are exercising, how they feel, how they look. You know, one of our clients last night, a very, very astute comment, and it's stuff that I notice and we notice all the time, and it's very important, but sometimes it goes unnoticed by people. And these are things you don't have to pick up on, but they're absolutely things that I'm supposed to and that Jason's supposed to also. And we did. You know, when it comes to Freedom Hills race, it was so hard last night to gauge how she was. I have Aaron on one hand saying, Anthony, it was 100% the flat tire. I'm looking at it saying, I get it. It could have been the flat tire, but man, she was really flat. And we were looking forward to drawing blood today and getting a look at it, but today's a holiday, so there's no blood that can be drawn. Somebody sent me a message, and Anthony, I noticed Freedom Hill's tail popped up last night and last week also, but not so much in the previous starts where she raced good. It's a very smart comment. It's 100% an indicator of AST going up or even GGT. It's a level of discomfort. When you see, more times than not, when you see a horse trotting along or pacing along and their tail's kind of popped up, sometimes Patrick always did it. That's why we tied his tail. But it's moreover horses that don't generally do it and then do it. That is an absolute key indicator of something that's bothering the horse, especially when it's followed by or in the middle of a poor performance. Yeah, absolutely it is. So these are things we are trying to look into. And somebody else sent me a message, said, you know, Anthony, the horse raced yet. I thought we were going with no stone unturned. Let's be clear. These are still living, breathing animals, and we can turn over every stone and we can treat them the best we can. But it doesn't always mean, like a horse with a high AST, a muscle count, it doesn't always mean that there's much we can do on race night. If that horse is tying up for a number of reasons on race night, there's very little we can do about that. Drop it right back down to 0, try to understand what's causing that level of stress and eradicate it, but that doesn't mean you're always going to be able to get to. So I think it's important for everybody to understand that. So a couple of really, emails that are important. The last one, just want everybody to understand that just because we see, and this goes back to what I told you, just because we see blood work that looks okay, doesn't mean that the horse is. It doesn't mean that that isn't starting to escalate. Those levels are on their way up. You get them and look at them and say, hi, normal. It's okay. You'll draw that blood 2-3 days out of the race. By the time that race comes around, that high normal may actually be high now. We can't just draw blood after blood after blood after blood every day, every second, and before the race and after the race. We're trying to do the best we can also. And you're going to have some poor performances. Me telling you we're going to be very diligent about all stones turned when it looks to, keeping the horses good. We are. But that doesn't mean you're going to run it perfect. No one can. Not with horses. So, and that's not meant as an admonishment. I fully understand that both emails were well warranted and well received. And well received. So, I just wanted to respond to them as I did last night via text, but I wanted to respond to them because what I find is if somebody sends me a message, there's probably plenty of other people thinking the same thing. So I wanted to put everybody's mind at ease with respect to both messages. Now, somebody else messaged me and said Gaslight Hall, did better in the Nominals of 4, and we dropped him into that claimer. Does it make more sense to put him in the Nominals of 4? It never makes more sense to race a horse above where he belongs. Was last night's class tough? Yeah, 56 or 57 on a chilly evening. Yeah, that's tough. That horse now will move up to where the Nominals of 4 is. I was just reading a message. But we stay the course where we're at. Having the 8-hole last night with Gaslight Hall was a tough one, right? It was a tough one. But he will draw inside and hopefully draw. If I draw 3 or 4 last night, I'm 1-2. Instead, I was a beaten third, and that was simply because we were taxed all the way to the quarter pole for sure. But he raced well. Foxy Seaside, somebody messaged me, said, Anthony, have you tried this? We've tried. You have to understand, shoeing horses, track surface, half-mile track, 5/8, 7/8 mile is totally different. Track surface is a huge difference. Is there anything causing the filly to now brush her knees? She always did brush her knees. Just, you're talking about a fraction of an inch sometimes of getting her away from it. And my thinking is, we tried to help her get away from it with the aluminum shoes, and she was terrible. So we put the steels back on her. We have her shod the way she is. I think my first course of action, obviously, would be have Dr. Tessa look at her again. But there's been no smoke nor fire with respect to her joints on the front end. So what's our next play? We're going to buy, as I said, I'm going to buy a set of felt knee boots for her. Only because, not that she's mauling her knee, but just because of the way she strikes her knee. She hits it, and I think she catches sometimes, and that's where you see her put that shuffle in her gait. With the felt, it's a different material. It literally is felt, when we say that. And she'll hit it and kind of bounce off, and away she goes. I think it could help her a little bit. And if it can't, then it can't. The only problem with that is, not very often we use felt knee boots, so they're just going to sit there. They're made, Lauren said we don't have a pair. I think we did buy a pair a couple of years ago for some horse, but I can't remember where they got to. I think we'll just have Foxy her own and see how it goes. Now we have horses racing today. The horses jogged today. I was happy with them. Happy with the way the week is starting. I am going to work on, for the rest of the late morning and early afternoon, I'm going to work on putting the buckets together for the Ohio sale. I can't believe I'm saying this. When the Ohio sale is here, the sale season is here. So a lot of input from people. I know a lot of people were interested in more in trotting fillies as a higher end prospect than just a higher end horse. So I guess today I'm going to leave the door open and the window open to everybody today. We have the Ohio sale coming up. We are going to put buckets together. What do you think about them? I still love the idea of a flyer bucket that's like 40 or 50,000 that fits 3 or 4 horses in it. You know, horses like I don't think Emerald Tom was expensive. I don't think Supermind was expensive last year. Those were Ohio horses. I know Rico Tubbs was 11,000. We could fit 3 or 4 horses into a bucket like that made a lot of sense, and call it 40 to 60 a flyer bucket. That's a $400 to $600 buy-in for everybody, and those would be horses that I just think, for whatever reason, were undervalued, and in some cases grossly undervalued, that fit in that bucket. They might work out, they may not, but nobody's going to take a bath over it. And I think that's one bucket for sure that I think makes the most sense. Now you're looking at 4 horses. My personal feeling is I don't know, somebody just sent me a message. My personal feeling is the high end should be maybe trotting fillies. Do you agree? Not agree? And then we should have just a general bucket that we're going to put together of horses that I like. That, again, these are all value-based things. These are all me saying, I thought that horse was worth 30, we bought him for 22. Pacer or trotter, colt or filly, I think it makes the most sense. That type of bucket. So you're having 3 to 4 horses in a flyer bucket, probably 4 or 5 horses that would be maybe 80 to 100,000. That's $800 to $1,000 for that main bucket, and then kind of the higher end horses. I suspect most of the feedback will be trotting fillies, but I'll leave that to you. If all that comes to fruition, you're looking at, we have a couple of homebred Ohio breds, don't we, to bring in? Well, 4 on the flyer bucket, 5 in the main bucket, and 1 or 2 in the higher end kind of trotting filly bucket is what I'm thinking. Or do we make a trotting filly and a trotting colt bucket and call it there's a high end horse if we want one? That will be up to you guys. So I'm all ears. Drop me a line today. You will only have till this afternoon. I'm going to refine all the buckets, and we'll start putting them together and putting them up, I guess, for sale for everybody. The sale is in 11 days, so tomorrow would be good. Tomorrow would be the 10-day mark. That's exactly what we should do. 10 days before the sale. So they'll go up tomorrow. All right? Anyway, thank you again for the messages, the comments. I appreciate them. Hopefully I answered everybody's questions about last night's racing. We do have lots of racing on today. Zena Kemp, Degas, Jolene Hall, Jailbird Jog. I'm going to make my way to Scioto to drive Tomboy Strong tonight from the outside post of 7 tonight in Scioto. Anyway, have a wonderful day wherever you are. It's a beautiful day here. I hope it is just as beautiful wherever you might be.